Hey guys, Doterian here, and patch notes are out. Last Epoch. Let's go check it out. This is my first time reading it. All of the previous notes I covered in my previous video. I'll leave a link in the description down below. So first, cycle is going to be cycled into Legacy. That's basically explaining what that does. Character stashes are being moved to Legacy as well. Pretty standard. So pretty much everything from the previous cycle gets moved into Legacy. Then we have the evade mechanic. Evade mechanic is basically a dodge roll. It's not a traversal skill you can use from level 1. You get 2 charges, has a short cooldown. Now the title of the patch is Harbingers of Ruin, so the mechanic is going to have a pinnacle boss that involves fighting the pinnacle boss's lieutenants, the Harbingers. So there's going to be 1 Harbinger per monolith timeline, and you need to fight each of the monolith timeline in order to unlock the timeline boss, the pinnacle boss. Okay, then we have the Forgotten Knights faction. Basically, the Forgotten Knights faction is the faction that gets unlocked for your Harbinger progress. So you unlock the Forgotten Knights faction. That has really good corruption-based rewards on it as you progress through that faction, and you get it for free. So this is separate to the item faction. These are the ranks in the item faction listed and the bonuses that you'll get. So for example, it looks like you can even get maximum forging potential. You can get additional glyphs. So really good focuses on the Harbingers of Ruin mechanic, where you get bonuses to those things, which I think I'm really going to enjoy. This is the Nemesis system, the new mechanic behind this particular season's patch. Basically, you'll see a bunch of purple armor on the ground, and you'll see 4 items. So you can choose to do 3 things. First is to banish. If you banish it, you basically just don't get those items. If you challenge it, you can fight the Nemesis and get the items at the end. Or if you empower it, you'll fight it, that escapes, and then for the next time around you defeat it, you get those items. It says though you can challenge it up to 2 times. So if you empower it the second time again, it's going to get empowered and buffed. So those items that you see will be buffed and you'll be getting it. There's more explanation here that explains. I did explain it in my last video as well. It also says when you defeat the Nemesis, regardless of whether you challenge or empowered it, it also drops a pile of crafting materials. It will not drop regular loot to avoid confusion with the 4 items offered. So that's good. Basically, you just get some materials, which is nice. At high levels, Nemesis may carry a special item, the Egg of the Forgotten, which is this egg that you see here. This item can be replaced with one of your uniques that lacks legendary potential or Weaver's Will, allowing you to upgrade that unique by empowering the Nemesis. The chance of this item appearing scales from 0 below level 60. So after level 60 it's 20%, and then at level 60 it's 100%. Rank 1 of the new Forgotten Knights faction provides an additional 40% chance for the egg to spawn. If you do not replace the egg, it will randomly transform into a different unique. Okay, so that's basically how that will work. If you replace it, your item will have a chance to get legendary potential or get buffs on it. So that's why the egg is so good as a reward. It also says here upgradable Nemesis weapons. Nemesis weapons can also drop vengeful weapons that seek out the destruction of the Harbingers that killed them. Killing a Harbinger whilst having one of these weapons equipped upgrades it to an avenged version with improved stats. So if you equipped these weapons and then kill the Harbinger with it, it looks like it'll upgrade it as well. So that's a nice little change that they added as well. Basically, they're changing boss defenses. So instead of implicit boss DR, damage reduction, at these little pips here, the boss will gain that amount of ward, and that ward will decay. Based on the ward decay changes as well, this ward will decay, I guess, quickly because bosses have a lot of health. So this boss will decay in ward, and then you can fight it again. This system is much better than having damage reduction on the boss. Now it allows you to visually see how much damage reduction the boss is getting. So this is a nice change. The system that they had before with boss damage reduction is you wouldn't be able to tell how much damage reduction the boss was having. At least being able to visually see it is a much better change for the players, so they can understand what's going on during the fight. Okay, then we have the ward decay. Based on this graph here, it looks like ward decay is slightly less, up to 4,000, and then exponential up to whatever. So based on this graph here, this is 18,000. If you have your ward value as 18,000, it basically hits around 18,000 ward decay rate as well. That's incredibly fast. And there were builds in the old patch that were getting like hundreds of thousands of ward. So if you get hundreds of thousands of ward, if you're able to build that, it looks like the ward decay will be insanely high. And so you probably won't be able to maintain that level of ward. So this is something to think about in the new patch. I'm going to look at the skills later, but some builds that were getting stacking thousands and thousands of ward, now it's going to be much harder to maintain that rate. And this is the formula for ward that they've included. Now we have the Glyph of Envy. This is an item that will allow you to increase your corruption on other timelines for alts. This is a lot of text, but basically what it's saying is it will take the stability from your most recent timeline you entered, helping you increase its stability. So with this crafting material, if you did a monolith and then now you've entered a new monolith, it will siphon the stability from that monolith into your new monolith. As it adds much more stability to timelines that you have not yet completed, it's particularly useful for going through non-empowered timelines quickly on alt characters. Okay, so first we have experience changes. Experience requirement and XP tome changes. Increased XP requirements of levels 98, 99, and 100 by around 20%, 40%, and 60%. XP tome rewards from echoes further from the center of the web now contain more XP tomes, up to 7. So if you're continuing out from the monolith in the endgame, you're going to get more XP tomes. This is going to be good for favor gain, but it looks like the XP tome echo reward occurrence is going to be much lower. So larger values for lower corruption and lower distance from the center of the echo web. So if you're outside on the edges of the echo web, you can get up to 40, you can get up to 29%, because it's going to be reduced by 42% if you're right at the start. We also have minimum skill level changes as well. So it's going to be easier to respec your builds because your skills are going to level up much quicker. It also says that they reduced the experience scaling from corruption at higher corruption values. So it says here every 100 corruption above 300 is now like 25 corruption above 300 before. Okay, and then it also says every 100 corruption above 1,000 is now like 5 corruption before. Okay, so they severely nerfed the experience gain at like thousands of wards, which is a nice change. I don't think you needed experience at that point anyway. If your build is able to do 1,000, you don't need experience like that, and it avoids players wanting to try and abuse the favor gain mechanics as well. So I think that's a nice change. Or a change as well, ability to equip two-handed weapon while dual wielding and place those items in your inventory. Looks like that got changed. Reduced item sell costs early on, so this is going to be nice in the early game when leveling up. It also says here, change the town scene characters loaded into. Now characters will not always load into the end of time after reaching it, but instead load into the last town visited scene. So that's good because you always ended up in the end of time, and then you have to go and find where you started from. So now that that's been changed, you won't waste a few extra seconds teleporting to where you need to go. Okay, skipping loot filters, there's controls, UI, that's all very good. Character stat menu improvements, okay, that's nice. Localization, added some new languages, that's good. Potion drop changes. Adjusted the size and shape of the area in which a potion is now considered close to a potential drop location, and reduces the chance of another potion dropping there. Instead of it being a square, it's now a 16 radius circle, and the total area is less than before. Alright, so it also says here they increase, so for Monoliths of Fate, now the endgame, the gold echo reward occurrence by 8%. They also increased the shard echo reward by 20%. Increased rune echo occurrence by 10% and glyph echo occurrence by 17%. So they're trying to make it so that the currencies in the game are more common. Increased specific echo rewards occurrence by 6%. So this is uniques and set relics. Gold scaling above corruption 500 has been reduced, and increased gold drops from enemies by 5%. Most players will now receive more gold than before from slaying enemies. Good change. Again, gold is used in everything to buy stash tabs and things like that. And you can now search for timelines as well. That's also good. They've changed the blessings, so once you kill a boss and see the 3 blessings in the monoliths, you can now unlock them, and they'll be unlockable as like the minimum roll. Okay, so there's slight changes to item factions. Each rank in the item faction now provides a 5% increase favor gain. At maximum rank of 12, you'll gain increased 60% favor gain. So that's quite nice to gain favor, and the favor you'll be using to buy the prophecies so that you can get items. Perks in each rank. So for Merchants Guild, nothing's really changed. I think they just split up an existing rank into 2. Circle of Fortune, however, they did gain. So they moved the set items so that you'll get that earlier. So when a set item would drop, you get the whole set. That was previously rank 9. And this one is new. Exiled mages now drop twice as many experimental items. And the new one is also this one. Bosses have increased 150% drop rate for any specific reward they have. So if you're trying to farm a specific item on that boss, they get increased drop rate, which is going to be nice for, I guess, quote-unquote target farming. You can try and target farm. Although some things like the Ravenous Void has a very low drop rate anyway, but you can kind of try and target farm if you'd like, because the drop rate has increased. The other change here is prophecies now grant twice as many items, but this has been changed from the items are duplicated. They just give twice as many items. So for example, if you were to get a ring, you're not going to get the exact same ring, you're going to get a different ring. Alright, so skill changes. So channeled skills, they prevented mana regen before, but now they have mana regen added into their costs, and you get the mana regen. So that's going to be good for maintaining the uptime of a channeled skill, because sometimes it didn't feel powerful using a channeled skill. In terms of ailments is like status effects. Frostbite is now better. Blind is so much better now. That's a very cool change. Blind no longer causes enemies to aim erratically. It now makes enemies unable to critically strike from halving their crit strike chance. I love this change, and I think it's going to be good because sometimes you were trying to build crit strike avoid into your build. Now you don't have to do that as much if you're able to consistently blind targets. So I really love this change. It says here, bleeds inflicted by spirit plagues, hemophage, and laceration nodes also respect ailment conversion. I didn't really play necros or acolytes, so I'm not too sure about this one. Haste, Frenzy, and Immobilize can no longer be replaced by stacks with lower remaining duration. So a haste effect with 4 seconds remaining cannot be replaced by a new one with 2 seconds. I didn't even know it did that. Okay, here's some bug fixes. Now looking at the class changes in terms of skills. These patch notes are huge, so I'm not going to go through every single class or skill. But the general outline of this patch, Sorcerer has been buffed, Shaman has been buffed, a lot of skills have been tweaked, so the numbers on them have been tweaked. I do see a lot of slight mana adjustments. In terms of numbers, certain skills have been changed drastically. So Avalanche is a big change, it's completely reworked. So all of the nodes are different. Sorcerer's numbers have been tweaked, and the sort of less meta classes, so Forge Guard, Sorcerer, and Shaman, I have seen a lot more point threshold bonuses. So for instance, you'll get a certain bonus once you 3 points or 4 points in a certain passive. They've gotten more threshold bonuses. The Forge Guard especially, Forge Guard was a class that was one of the older classes. They had no threshold bonuses before. Now they have threshold bonuses that will definitely increase their damage. So overall, classes that were dealing insane amounts of damage, their numbers have been slightly tweaked down. Classes that weren't played at all, like Forge Guard, Sorcerer, and Shaman, their numbers have gone up. Passives have been changed and tweaked. Numbers on those have been increased as well. Skills have also been tweaked as well. So the new patch 1.1 is definitely going to bring a shake up to the meta. we'll have to see which classes are going to dominate now that these numbers have been tweaked. And it could be just these numbers being tweaked a little bit that brings them up to A tier or S tier. But again, we'll have to see when the patch actually comes out. But I'm really keen to try Forge Guard now. I'm really keen to try Sorcerer, Shaman, new Paladin with the new items that are going to come out. A lot of exciting changes to the game. I'm going to link the patch notes down in the description below, so have a read in your own time because they're huge. The game's coming out on July 9th or July 10th, wherever you are in the world. So yeah, it's going to be different. The whole game's going to be different because there's new systems. Balancing is completely different now. And again, there's going to be a new meta, but hopefully the balancing will be more in line with the other classes, because some classes in the old patch felt really strong, some classes felt abysmally weak. So now EHG is slowly closing the gap between these different masteries. We'll see how it is. If you enjoyed the video, drop me a like down below. As always, have an awesome day. Bye for now.